All right, guys, how's it going? Kind of some new, fresh news for this week. Drew Lock going to be starting against the Vegas Raiders out in LA or out in Vegas this coming week. This is a huge game, for Drew Lock and his development. He lost the job to Teddy Bridgewater to start out the season. So this is going to be a monumental game for Drew Lock, not only for his time in Denver, but I believe he'll be a free agent coming up either next. I don't think they'll pick up his fifth-year option, so I believe that Drew Lock is going to be a free agent next year, maybe a sign-and-trade candidate in the offseason, like a franchise tag, and then you get a fourth rounder for him. So Drew Lock, again, I always think that Drew Lock has a lot of talent out of Oregon or out of Missouri. He broke Peyton Manning's SEC touchdown record. Had 51 when he was with Josh Heupel, who's now the head coach at the University of Tennessee, in that high-powered offense. Drew Lock throwing the ball all over the field to Emmanuel Hall, to Alberto, who plays for the Broncos, and then to Moore, who was a really great receiver. Larry Roundtree ran the ball for Missouri. So he was a really good college quarterback. And then in the NFL, first year he went 3-1, off to a great start. Then in his second year, was on the verge of going 0-2. And in his second game, he ended up getting a shoulder injury that really sidelined him for the majority of the second season. In his second season, he really wasn't healthy, and he also performed very poorly statistically, and they couldn't win any games. Drew Lock shows an ability to turn the ball over, shows a negative ability to force throws in. At times he's very inaccurate. He doesn't have that mobility factor that you look for in a lot of quarterbacks. So the feel for the game is certainly a question mark. But I view Drew Lock as a big-time talent. I think he can make back shoulder throws. I think he can make second-level throws, intermediate, and he could really stretch the field. I think he's an immense talent. He's better than Bridgewater. I don't know why the Broncos were rolling out Bridgewater. I mean, I guess with Bridgewater, he's a safer option. He could keep you in some games. He can maybe win some games where Drew Lock can lose you games. But at the same time, I think Drew Lock can win you some games that Teddy simply can't, meaning Drew Lock can play above and beyond Teddy Bridgewater. He gives you that spark to that offense. You did see last week Drew Lock immediately drive the Broncos down the field and score a touchdown. So last year in Vegas, it was his worst game as a starter in the NFL. He threw 4 interceptions, and the whole time it was a sloppy blowout to a bad Raiders defense under Paul Gunfer last year. So for Drew Lock, this game is huge. If they go out there, if they play inspired football for Drew Lock that has the week of preparation and has the week to really get Courtland Sutton back involved in this offense, if Drew Lock can kind of go on this tear here, it could be really good for his future, but also he can maybe start the rest of the way. And if they somehow beat the Chargers, and somehow I believe Denver too has a really tough game like last week of the year. I know that they play the Chargers to finish. I'm not sure if they have Kansas City at home. They probably do have Kansas City at home to finish the season. So for Drew Lock, I mean, I can't wait to see how he plays. And again, I think he's a starter in this league. I would take him over Jared Goff. I would take him over Daniel Jones. I think he's right up there with Joe Burrow. I really do. Tua's a good quarterback, but I believe that Lock can do a lot of things that Tua does. He definitely would start over Zach Wilson. At his price, he's right up there with Derek Carr to me, or Kirk Cousins. I know that these guys are considered great quarterbacks, but to me, Drew Lock is a top 15 quarterback in the National Football League. Now, maybe he doesn't get those opportunities to play. Maybe it's just me seeing it. I also believe Jacob Eason, who never plays either, is also another awesome quarterback that I'd love to see have a full season of work. So Drew Lock's been injured. He didn't beat out Bridgewater, so as much as I want to defend Drew Lock, he hasn't given Lock defenders like myself a lot of ammunition. He's not getting on the field, and it's disappointing. And I know that Bridgewater's leadership style is tough to compete with. I know that Bridgewater is respected, that he takes care of the football, and that Pat Shurmur, I don't like how he calls games. He's way too conservative of a play caller. I like guys that are going to, that are going to put the ball in harm's way, or going to push the ball down the field. I think Drew Lock, I like that aggressive gunslinger type of offense, and that's why I like Drew Lock as a passer. But I think this week, with good week of prep, he learned how to, again, be a backup quarterback. Maybe Drew Lock, he's only 25, which is great. He has a lot of youth. And if he learned from Tannehill, sometimes backup quarterbacks can get their chance to shine. And this is one of those games. Everybody remembers Taylor Heineke against Tom Brady, and then Heineke went in there, and he's actually shown ability to play at this level. Drew Lock this week at 4:30 in the primetime slot there, 4:30 on the East Coast. This is going to be a monumental game for Drew Lock in his career, and I, for one, can't wait to see how it goes.